Good morning and welcome to the 4th edition of La Vista, Life in a College Town. I'm Emily Hamilton.
I'm Courtney Plunk.
I'm Nicholas Lopez.
I'm Kelsee Pitman.
And today it's all about body image, which in some way affects everybody.
I know that for me and my friends, with summer coming up, we seem to go to the gym a lot more to get that swimsuit body.
You know, with summer coming up, exactly, you do see a lot of advertising, commercials, and things like that talking about being ready for summer, swimsuit body, be ready for the beach, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, watching all those commercials, I'm so guilty of setting out like this schedule before summer or spring break, and like I'm gonna work out all these days, and then it lasts like a week, and I'm like, no, sleep.
Over it.
Yeah, especially with school and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's not worth my time.
Yeah, it is hard. It's hard to find time to fit that into your schedule with everything else going on.
So speaking of summer, it reminds me of a BuzzFeed video I saw. The video reverses gender roles that you're traditionally seen in advertising, kind of plays around with how you see things.
Ooh.
The offense really needs to score here, but this defense just isn't giving an inch. It's down to this last play. Interception! He's across the midfield. He's at the 40. The 30. 20. 10. Touchdown.
Like I said, with summer coming up, the gym has been a lot more crazy at the rec. It's like hard to find a parking spot, and it's just, you can tell that people are trying to be looking good for summer.
Where do you park at the rec? I don't even go there.
Looks like a parking lot.
To be honest, I mean, I barely go through any of the stuff that's on campus, to be honest with you guys. I do know I see a lot of people running all the time as it's gotten warmer. You see people out there. There's those giant tires out there.
Yeah, they like roll over and you have to like push them.
What?
I mean, I've never done it before, but.
No, I saw a really small woman out there flipping a tire, and I was like, all right.
You're like,
Yeah, more power to you. My idea of working out is like sitting up in the morning to turn the alarm clock off.
But like in that BuzzFeed clip, I mean, what did you guys think of that?
I mean, I thought it was pretty funny.
I thought it was hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
you don't ever think about, like, when you're on TV, you're like, okay, that's a woman, like, you're used to it. But then when you see, like, the men do it, like, on
You
here,
realize how
you realize how
ridiculous it
insane
is.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, you see something constantly. Traditionally, you see the same thing played out in movies, cartoons, advertising. And then when you see it reversed, you do realize just how ridiculous it is to see a man do it. So then why don't we ever question, you know, is it ridiculous?
When they portray women like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, if I was that woman, I would not want to be able to be doing that. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to, like, when they do, like, the sexy hamburger and stuff, I would feel ridiculous doing that.
Yeah, I think our society is so like, where a lot of people want to put like women in advertisements because, I don't know, do y'all feel the
Everything
same way?
is so sexualized,
Yeah.
kind of.
You know, what's weird about it all, though, is like, okay, I get it that the images are there to make you want to buy things or to make you interested in whatever the movie or show is. But what I get to is like, I kind of feel, sometimes it makes me feel kind of uncomfortable if I'm like at my mom's house and there's like some bikini chick, you know, with ketchup dripping down her face. And I'm supposed to, you know, be sitting there and talking with your parents. It's kind of weird. Or, you know.
Or, like, younger siblings.
Oh.
Like, I have little brothers, and I'm like, okay, my brother's watching this, it's cool.
Yeah. Also, another thing that's really prominent right now with the pressure to get that perfect body has resulted in, you know, people abusing drugs such as like, you know, more steroids for men, but more oftentimes now you hear about even women, you know, taking amphetamines like Adderall or Vyvanse to, you know, curb their appetite and, you know, keep them from eating. And it's just gotten really out of hand. I think we see that a lot too in college, you know.
You know, I'm not, as you can tell, I'm not the person who uses the gym a lot. But I used to work next to a gym. I worked for a video game store, and the guys would come to the gym after they would go work out. And the conversation would constantly get into steroids. These dudes were regularly using steroids. It was a common thing. It was a joke about it. Yeah, it was a different place, but I mean, it was extremely common for these guys to say that they buy different things to make themselves bigger.
Yeah, you see like all these things about steroids and stuff, but then you forget women can use them too, like those huge women bodybuilders or women using it for Adderall. Like I know my friends like that actually have prescribed Adderall, hate taking Adderall because they don't want to eat, but then some women take Adderall just so that they won't be hungry, which is not good for you because then the food, your stomach thinks that you're not going to get any food, so it stores the food and then it just turns into fat. So it's not healthy.
Yeah, I guess that's something that people don't realize when they're, trying to lose it all really fast. Or, cigarettes too. You always hear about people smoking cigarettes, in order to curb their appetite.
Yeah. And I think it's easy for college students to kind of cover it up, I guess, because a lot of people take Adderall for to study or something, but it's easy to change that perspective and be like, well, I'm actually taking it to lose weight.
Right.
Yeah, no one wants to admit it. So say your friend's taking all this Adderall, you don't know that she's taking it to lose weight. If I knew, then I would be telling them hey, that's not healthy, but you think, oh, they're just doing it because they have a huge test next week, but it's really to lose weight.
Yeah, I think it's really easy for it to get out of hand fast, for sure.
Well, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous when you really think about it that somebody would take some type of substance to make themselves look a certain way just because they feel
pressured
negative
by society.
They feel negative about themselves from the pressures of outside society and things like that. It just seems to me to be a little over the top, or we're accepting of it almost. We're discussing it. We know that it goes on in the world and it goes on in the world around us.
We all know how taboo the subject of body image is, right? Alyssa Christoph asked Texas Tech students about how the media affects their perceived body images. Students were also asked about the Dove Real Beauty campaign and how the ads are changing the way women look at their own bodies. Their answers might surprise you.
According to healthresearchfunding.org, 80% of women say images in the media make them feel insecure. A Texas Tech women's studies professor believes unrealistic standards have been set for women by society.
Now, in terms of image, media portrays these unrealistic, sort of idealistic body types that cause a lot of insecurities, I think, for women and for girls. So I can't say that there's an ideal body image, because I don't agree with what the media puts out.
A lot of times it's just unrealistic and unachievable things that the media tries to push on women. Things that could be possible, but not necessarily for everyone, body types wise. They Photoshop even a pretty girl's face a lot of times.
It's more of us as a generation, or the people who look up to the celebrities and they idolize them. So then it's well, if you don't look like this celebrity, then you're not attractive, because that's what everybody loves.
The media has just recently started shedding a positive light on body image through the Dove Real Beauty campaign.
I have seen their advertisements where they're using various different body shapes in order to advertise. And I think finally, they need that. We need that, because this anorexic type, large-breasted, small-waisted, it actually causes a lot of problems. It causes eating disorders. It causes people to feel insecure. There's a host of consequences to that. So I think Dove's doing a good thing.
Through the Dove campaign and others like it, women have realized their true beauty.
To embrace their body just the way it is, to learn to love their body shape, to turn off the commercials. I know it's hard to do.
I honestly think I'm pretty good the way I am. Not a lot of people can say that. I like my hair. People always tell me it's pretty.
I smile. My mom spent enough money on it. It's pretty.
They need to internalize their own beauty, to feel it from the inside out, so that they've got something strong to be able to counter those images.
All right, so now I'm a little interested. I'm feeling a little inspired by that last clip there. So what do you guys like about yourselves?
I think I like my smile, I guess.
I like my freckles, because not everyone has them.
I know, I don't really have freckles, but they look pretty on you.
Thank you.
I like my chubby cheeks.
You're so cute.
I like your chubby cheeks.
All right, being the beautiful bald man that I am, it's honestly the dome.
The dome? You like your
dome? Yeah, the head, yeah, there you go.
Stuff just reflects right off of it. My dad's bald too, and when I was little, I would always when I would draw my family portrait, I would just draw like, stick figures, and then there would just be like 2 like lines on the side of my dad's head. Call it a cul-de-sac. So.
I like touching the bald head. I do it to my dad all the time. He gets so mad.
I just think of Squidward,
Squidward?
I don't know. I guess, bald head, men in society.
So now with advertising and things and articles and magazines, you're starting to read a lot about women's bodies or different body types that are being portrayed in the media. But I feel that we don't talk a lot about different male body types in advertising or in media, for example. Like, you very rarely would see a guy like me in an underwear ad, whereas we're now starting to see different size women in advertisements for cosmetics, for clothing, things like that, and that's becoming fully acceptable. Whenever there is a bigger man on like a magazine cover, it's insulted a lot. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie. He was on a magazine recently and on the cover, and he's a big guy. And
and it said like, let's discuss the elephant.
The elephant in the room is what it says when you put a big guy on a cover of a magazine. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I think a big thing about it is like women and their like emotions and how they feel about themselves. It's easy to transition into that. Like, I mean, I love my body, and so I'm gonna like portray it how it is. Yeah. And I think men are a lot more unemotional, and so
I guess more comfortable with
that. But I still think it needs to be changed.
They come off as more comfortable. Like they're not gonna express. Yeah. I don't feel like men express their insecurities as much as women do, or like harp on them as much.
I recently read a thing. It was a study that they determined that men worry about body image more than women actually do. However, they internalize it. They take it in, and they don't express it to each other. They don't discuss it with each other. So then they become internally depressed about it, is what they were saying, and that's what some issues where you'll see people, again, with things like steroids. A lot of younger guys have an issue with fitting that manly role of being a big,
powerful,
tough,
strong.
I mean, as a young dude, a lot of guys are skinny.
I think that it should be where men should be able to portray any size too. I don't understand why it has to only be women. I think it needs to be changed that any size for both men and women need to do. Like Dove needs to come up with one for men or something.
They do have a campaign for men, but it has athletes in it. The campaign for the average man is a professional athlete doing regular man stuff.
Which is not average man at all, actually.
I mean, I can understand, though. With the women's issues, it's been something that's been going on a lot longer than the way that we've been portraying men, or portraying women one way as opposed to men. So I can see that it's something that we've focused on and are trying to change in society, which is important. But we can't neglect the idea that we've created this male perfect image, in society now that maybe needs to be kind of curbed as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely needs to be changed.
Yeah, even the playing field, make it fair, because if,
Body image can be an uncomfortable conversation. How someone feels about their body greatly affects their social interaction. But Dr. Martin Binks told reporters Tanner Hunt that its roots go deeper than skin.
Dr. Binks, who is an obesity expert, spoke to us about the connection between mental health and body image.
For people with anorexia, nervosa, bulimia, those particular eating disorders, of course, body image plays a strong role in overly restrictive eating patterns.
He also discussed how people are dissatisfied with their bodies because of cultural pressures.
For others, they are embarking on weight loss because they are dissatisfied with their bodies. They wish that they're following the cultural ideal of having the perfect size 1. Like what kind of a society has a size called 1?
Katie Parker, a 21-year-old dance major at Texas Tech, talked to us about how she thinks the ideal body image is portrayed in society today and how it has negatively affected her health.
I think media has a lot to do with it. A lot of movies you see, larger women are normally, pitied on, or the main girls or the girls who are on the cover of magazines are the skinnier ones or the model-esque ones, and I think that's always just portrayed. Media kind of hits you in the face of this is what you should look like, and if you don't, you're kind of outcasted. It became something that I was crying so hard every day I came home throwing up, and then that eventually just turned into something I thought I could control by being bulimic.
Valerie Brown, a yoga instructor at Highway 108 in Lubbock, spoke with us about the positive effects yoga can have on your body and mind.
If they make their way to the yoga mat and somehow they have some kind of misconception about their body, or they're not 100% self-loving and they're not loving their bodies, that usually yoga is such, it has such a variety of styles and practices that whether it's somebody who's, maybe they're overweight, maybe they're not 100% healthy, but that's why they're here.
Brown told us about how people who are overweight sometimes become inspired by their experiences with yoga.
And I think if somebody's really disconnected from their bodies too, like they don't fully love their bodies, they have something that isn't quite perfect for them, or they want to, work on losing the extra 10 pounds or whatever it is, that oftentimes that kind of falls away once you really get connected with your mind and with your body.
Dr. Binks told us about a law being produced in France where modeling agencies are being fined for hiring models that are underweight. He thinks this law would be a positive one.
I think that the intention is honorable. The intention is to reduce the amount of pressure on young women, particularly, to achieve a ridiculously unhealthy body image.
Wow, so yoga seems to be a hot topic for mental health.
Is there like a yoga pose where you can just lay like flat on your back and eventually fall into like a deep sleep? That's my
Yeah, I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible enough. I know I went to a class once and it didn't last very long. I had to leave. It was bad.
Not even just yoga, but I mean, I think there's plenty of other different physical activities that you can do to relieve stress. Like, I love swimming, and then, there's also
the sauna.
You can just go sit in the sauna.
Yeah. Eating is my stress reliever. I'm not kidding. Finals week, I eat all the time, like snacks all the time. It helps me, I don't know, relax. That's my thing.
Well, also, over the ages, the way that body image is perceived has changed so much, like what seems to be the perfect body type. And also the stereotypes and norms have changed over the ages, and the idea of what we think is the perfect woman.
I think a lot of people, though, like, I get that what we're talking about is media portraying the perfect woman, but one of the things that everybody has to keep in perspective is guys don't really care. What I mean by that is you can look at people of all different types, different sizes, different shapes, and guys are still all over them. I mean, guys are still talking to girls. Men are still talking to women. From that perspective, men don't, even though that image is portrayed of this perfect thing, men they don't really care.
Yeah, I know, like, when people get older, they like dye their hair so they get rid of the gray and stuff, but men don't care when they get gray. They're like, whatever,
That's not even true, actually. My one of my good friends' dad still dyes his hair because he's
Really?
so self-conscious about his grays.
I get
Not to call anyone out. That's not dropping names.
I get a little, I'm going a little grayish in the face here. And it was interesting because, like, I didn't have a beard for a long time. A job I used to have to shave every day, had to be clean shaven, and then I grew it after I quit this job, and I was like, whoa, look at that, what is this? When did this happen? And then it's just expanding. It's like a forest fire of gray. And it's expanding further out, and I've thought about it. They have those weird commercials, those Just for Men. I know this isn't a topic that most students here would care about, but they have that whole thing where they have old athletes, and they're like, oh, your beard is weird, your stash is trashed, and then they dye it, and then they get girls again. I know that's some of the things that this whole image of what you're supposed to look like or what you're supposed to be, that is what we're discussing, but like, to me, I don't care. It's all gonna go gray. The only one I'm worried about is, I think, my eyebrows. If they go gray before the rest of my beard, I think that might be weird.
I think it'd be easier if people, I mean, it's really hard, but if people like embraced uniqueness.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that would be pretty cool if you had gray eyebrows.
And like wrinkles, like people get Botox to get rid of their wrinkles, and I'm like, you just look fake. Like, you're old, you should have wrinkles. I don't know. I think it looks weird. I think with dyeing your hair, it's fine because it's like you can't really tell. But Botox is just needs to not happen.
But we have to blame society for that, you know? For
the
people.
pressure.
Yeah.
Well, hair color isn't the only thing that's changed over time. Here's Lee Waldman with more info about gender through the ages.
That whether it's movies or advertising, there have long been these sort of really idealized images of what it means to have the perfect body, the perfect hair. Today, it's everything from the perfect manscape, if you're male, to the perfect fingernails, to the perfect teeth. And in some ways, the pressures that are on today's generation aren't that different from the pressures put on a generation that came of age in the 1960s, a generation that came of age in the 1920s.
Professor Willett went on to talk about the perception of body image throughout the ages.
So in the 1920s, that sort of image of the flapper transformed women's bodies in interesting ways. Women got their hair bobbed, very, very short, hairstyle, their skirt lengths crept up, they used makeup, they had a much more kind of even assertive stance, and so their look of femininity was strikingly radical from a generation before.
Dr. Willett also discussed the change in the 50s as moral values and new sexual icons class.
1950s is just interesting because it's a mix of conservativeness and then also kind of this embrace of new sort of sexual icons, you know, whether it's Marilyn Monroe or Elvis Presley, for example.
As society transitioned into the 70s and 80s, there were new trends in body image.
Becoming physically fit for men and women, whether it was jogging, whether it was going off to the gym, you start to see men and women embrace a real kind of new physicality.
Now in modern society, the culture has continued the trend of being physically active. Junior mechanical engineer Colton Wilkins talks about his perception of the current society.
You know, it's 2015, so I think a lot of the stereotypes have gone away, and I think it's more as not as much as how you look, but more your overall health.
Regardless of gender or era or amount of outward concern displayed, Dr. Willett summed up by saying,
the thing to keep in mind is that the pressure that we think of that's placed on women is also placed on men.
Reporting for Vista, I'm Lee Waldman.
So I guess what we can take away from today's segment is that we're moving towards a more health-focused society rather than, you know, everyone trying to just achieve the perfect body image at all times. And I think that's perfect, you know, with finals coming up because everyone's so stressed out and stuff, but it's really important to, like, you know, stay healthy through that week.
Yeah, and make sure to get enough sleep, eat good foods, all that jazz to make sure
drink plenty of water.
That's like, just because you're going to study a lot, if you're tired, you're not going to
perform
well.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in with us today. I'm Emily Hamilton.
I'm Courtney Plunk.
I'm Nicholas Lopez.
I'm Kelsee Pitman.
Hasta la vista.